Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of REM Bus. I'm your host Kaaz and I got Callum with me. Welcome to the show, Callum.
Hi everyone.
So guys, it's been a while. We're talking about a lot of topics in what impacting in the crypto area and whatnot. So today we thought we're gonna talk about a little bit about Clarity Act and what's its impact on RW area and what's the institutional money is flowing, how it's gonna happen, what in our ideas this is what our take on that. So let's go to Callum and we'll have a little chat about what's Clarity Act, what's the impact on that for the RWA sector with the institutional money is coming pouring into the market. Callum, what do you think? What so far? What you really got this act and the impact to RWA sector so far?
It's huge, Kaz. Actually, it's huge because what we find here is that we see how normal crypto investors investing and speculating, and then government speculating about crypto investors not having proper regulations, legislations in jurisdictions, and that is an issue specifically like countries like US, Australia, sort of, or even European countries. What it actually means is that what's happening is people don't understand what is it. It's very gray. Like, for example, let's take, for example, what's a stable coin? Can we actually define a stable coin? What's a
Yeah.
security coin? What is Bitcoin? Can we actually define what's a digital asset is and what digital asset actually means in the society? We haven't defined this issue. For example, gold. We know gold is specifically defined as saying this is a hedge. People know it's a hedge. People know where to and what's the gold market, how it regulates, where can we take it? Can you take it to a certain jurisdiction? If you're going to take some gold, what is involved? What's the taxation looks like? Everything is properly regulated. And this is where I think, as where we have a proper understanding of a specific asset. Take, for example, property, right? Which everyone talks about. With property is something people known as the American dream or the Australian dream, right? Why? Because this is where you live. This is where someone else would live, something else, and you're happy to invest in. We call it brick and mortar, right? Why we say that is because there is an intrinsic value in property which they can touch and feel. But if you check the outcomes of property regulation, it's very regulated in specific countries. Most countries have regulated the property itself because it is part of the jurisdiction itself. It's the physical location of the jurisdiction itself.
Mm.
In a country, the country has its own property, right? Which defines from this country to the other country. And you have specific laws in sea, inland, covering that area. So these have been the case in human history where people have clear definition of this is my certificate or my deed about the property. This is my certificate or some sort of a verification of my shares that I own for this specific company. This is what I own for that specific money that I paid for this share, right? So,
Yeah.
say for example, you take the same thing about gold, silver, any commodities, also same thing. You would say, I bought it from here. If the government comes in today and say, you stole some gold, I should be able to give them a certificate or somewhere or a receipt or something to say, I purchased it here. I am allowed to keep this much of gold in my possession. Now, this is the value and the validity of having some proper guidance or proper legislation in specific jurisdiction. Now, think as this way. Think about crypto. It
Yeah.
starts as a speculation because it's digital money. Can this be digital money? And then you see people, gamers, and everyone would be working on this, not just miners, and it just grows towards that area. And then they will be playing games and say, okay, I'll give you this much Bitcoin if you give me this weapon or something, right? From that game, specific game. And they
Yeah.
go on talking about these things, and then people see some intrinsic value on it. People tend to buy then 10,000 Bitcoins, I'll buy a pizza.
Mm.
Okay, for those days, You can't blame that person spending 10,000 Bitcoin. You never knew on that time, Kaz, it's going to be this much valuable, because
Exactly.
value is what people give,
Yeah.
right? I can show this pen and say this is valuable, and if no one gives it value, then there's no value. But if I
That's right.
give pen a value and everyone believes that this pen is really valuable, then this worth millions, right? It's just matter, right? But then everything is not the same. The value I give this from to this is can be different. This is
Mm.
plastic. This is made with nice looking in a metallic form, and I'll
Yeah.
say this is more expensive than this. It's about look, feel, and how you perceive things, right? Now we talk about Bitcoin and other crypto assets, right? Same, we would give the people would be giving value. And what we are finding in jurisdictions, for example, specifically in US, you see a lot of crypto millionaires, crypto billionaires running away from US jurisdiction because there's no covering for them. There's no legislation. There's nothing protecting them. There is, however, a taxation, so much taxation that they're not motivated to stay there,
Yeah.
right? But if you look at it in a bigger angle, they would go saying, rather than staying here, I might go to Dubai,
Mm.
the UAE, because it's tax free and gives me more facilities and so forth. I go to Seychelles, I go to somewhere else, who are Malta, somewhere that would accept me as an individual, who would support me, promote me, anything. We
Yeah.
talk about Clarity Act. This is the beauty of it. Now, Senator Lumens is one of those higher end people who would be actually lobbying on this.
Really
And
pushing
there
it.
are other
Yeah.
people as well. You can't only see Senator Lumens, but there are other people who actually work on this issue. But I feel really grateful for these people who was actually doing it, Cass, just because they're trying to, there's good and bad in everything in the world, but I'm not trying to lobby into senator, but I'm trying to say, I'm not into any political party or anything. It's just I'm trying to say, if someone's doing something good, some administration doing something good, we need to acknowledge that. Throughout this time, SEC has been saying this is wrong, this is right, I'm going to take you to court. For example, there was a SEC and XRP battle, went for years, not because sex wrong or XRP is right or XRP is wrong, sex right. It's about the jurisdictional guidelines, jurisdictional, the acts
The
or the
compliance.
laws
Yeah.
behind its case has not been actually clear. So if it's not clear, then the unclear venues, I can interpret anything.
Yeah.
So I would say, please define your coin or your token, your crypto asset is a utility. Then I'll say, no, it's not a utility. Okay, then prove what it is. If
Yeah.
you have a specific guideline, what is a utility coin? What is a security coin? What is RWA, real world assets, right? What is actually a real world service, which we can talk later on in another podcast.
Mm.
We can actually define these things. With Senator Lomis's, I'm giving a bit of a brief here today, as we don't want to, we can go step by step here. The Clarity Act actually gives, it's as it says, clarity, right? And you're one of those people who was talking about it a
Mm.
long time as well.
Mm.
It gives specific clarity in a jurisdiction. I think Australian jurisdiction also needs to look into this, because what US is doing is not replicating, because we have different values, different ways of Australian way of life. And we need to understand, guys, that this is different specifically. But what we're looking at is actually the change of a system. We have digitalized information, digitalized currencies. We have digitalized a lot of things, so transfer currencies and everything is being digitalized. We're looking at digitalizing assets, which is another level, right? That is the future,
Yeah.
right? What you see is what you get, and digitalizing assets, digitalizing that needs proper legislation, proper guidance. Clarity Act brings that. It brings the clarity on each segment of a digital asset. We would look into this in a bigger picture, Cass. It is a digital asset format we're looking at, right? We're basically looking at what an ownership looks like today,
Yeah.
what's an ownership would look like tomorrow,
Yeah.
how settlements, we're looking at, let's look at the actual stories in property point of view. Settlements that happen today can take fraction of a time if it's a digital asset, All right. So that's where we're looking at that liquidity that we people would get, that fast transactions people would get, that easy, that this is why this technology is valuable. This
Mm.
blockchain technology is valuable. And I think US is seeing this, US government is seeing this and actually taking its proper action on it, which would actually bring more investors, more, and that's I think what the Trump administration is doing at the moment. It's not about Trump administration. It's about this specific administration is trying to motivate people to invest in US.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big topic there that Australia can get as well, Kaz, which is
But I think
Australian.
normally what our take is normally when US done something, when you do the clarity, rest of the world can actually follow. So this will help to Australia to create their own framework on digital assets, so which is good. So clarity, as you say, it will give the proper clarity, justify
100%.
everything. Yeah, it's more compliance, right? That's the people. People always care about the compliance. There's always a gray area when it's come to digital asset. Now, once the gray area is gone, it's good.
I mean,
Everyone's
so
more confident.
exactly. So this is where the politicians and administrations and parliament come into board.
Mm.
Parliament creates laws.
Yeah,
Without those laws, people can't act on things. So therefore, it's very valuable that the jurisdictional leaders would look into this and act on it, right? And bring up something like a Clarity Act on board. And I
yeah.
think we'll go through Clarity Act in the next episodes that we're coming up. But I want to say is that I have given you a brief of what it looks like, and let's look at the summary later on.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you, Ken.
beautiful. Thank you, Callum. So there you go, guys. That's what the in a nutshell what Clarity Act is. It gives more clarity, as the word itself says, to the digital asset. It's always been a gray area. Now it's actually proper frameworks going to be implemented, plus with the rules and regulation and more compliance, so people get more. Put it this way, for me, it's like it's legalizing marijuana. Back in the days, it's a illegal drug. Now it's not. Or more people using it. It's been legalized. Got proper laws in regards to that. There's a proper place to sell them. Same like this one. Take it like that way. That's my take on that. So, guys, with that, thank you very much for joining us. We'll come.